Hello, and welcome to another episode. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the overflow property in CSS. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you find this video useful, share it with somebody else. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you want to support my channel, I am going to leave my PayPal link in the description below. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so to get started with the CSS Overflow property, I need you to go to w3schools.com. Go ahead and open the CSS section and scroll all the way down to where it says CSS Overflow. Same thing, I need you to have open the website we've been working with so far and the code that we've been coding along. Now I'm going to clear right now the CSS style we gave to our last chapter, the little dog image right here in the paragraph. I'm going to delete those two things here to leave everything empty. So I'm going to hit save and let's hit refresh. Perfect. So now we have a brand new document to start coding with. So the CSS Overflow property, it's a property that controls what happens to the content that is too big to fit into an area. So here is a quick example that W3 Schools gives us. This is some text, and since it's really long, then we have here some scroll bars added to it so that we can go up and down. The overflow property is what they use to do this. Here we have another explanation. The overflow property specifies whether to clip the content or to add scroll bars when the content of an element is too big to fit in the specified area. We had that situation yesterday when we were doing a division for a paragraph and the paragraph was too big. So the paragraph was outside of the div. So with this property, we're going to be able to control those type of scenarios. Now here we have some values for the overflow property. We are going to take a look at the 4 values for the CSS overflow property. The first one is visible. This is the default and the overflow is not clipped. The content renders outside of the elements box. Okay, then the second one is hidden, the third one is scroll, and the last one is auto. We're going to take a look at each one of them with examples so that you can have a better understanding of each. Now, the overflow property works for block elements with a specified height. So you need to add height to your elements. And in OS X Lion on a Mac, and I have a Mac also, you will not see this scroll bars. Instead, if you put your mouse and you hover over it, you can go ahead and you can use your touch pad and you can scroll up and down, but you will not see the scroll bar. So don't get panicked or don't get freaked out if you don't see the scroll bars in a Mac, okay? Now, let's get started with the first property, which is overflow visible. So as I was explaining previously, by default, the overflow is visible, meaning that it is not clipped and it renders outside of the elements box, as you can see there. Now, if we hit here on the example, try it yourself, we will see an explanation that will help us understand this quite better. So let's go ahead and add a division into our code. We're going to add, there are 4 examples, so let's just add the 3 divisions right away. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is add a div, and we're going to give this div the class of example. Let's do the div and then let's give it a class of example number 1. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to create the same div. Let's create the same div 3 more times, just so you can see the 4 examples with the 4 different values, okay? Do this in your code. And here we're going to create some paragraph there. Okay, there we go. So quite a long paragraph here. Let's copy this and let's paste this into each division here, okay? So by doing this, we're going to be able to experiment what each value will do to each division with the overflow property. Okay, so now we have the 4 divisions. We are going to name this one example number 2, this one example number 3, and the final one example number 4. Let's hit save. Let's go back to our style page here and let's hit refresh. And there you go. We have the 4 divs. Now I want to add some space between one and the other. So let's just make sure that we add that right now. Okay, let's add a space. I think that'll be enough. Hit save and refresh. Okay, perfect. So there you go. Now we have our 4 divisions. Now on the example, we give the first one a background color, a width of 200 pixels, and a height of only 50 pixels. And then you have some border and you have the overflow set as visible. So I'm going to copy all this information and we're going to paste this into our code, calling example division for example number 1. Okay, let's paste all the information here and I'm going to hit save. Now, when we go back to our code and we hit refresh, you see how the first division has been changed, and now the paragraph for the first division is actually going outside within the same division, but outside of the paragraph line, of the box square. It's going out. Now I can go ahead and actually give a couple of spaces here. Let's add a couple of spaces there. Maybe that's going to allow you to see this a little bit better. Let's hit refresh. Okay, there we go. So you see, this is the same paragraph as number 2, but in this case, everything has been rearranged because we use a background color, which is gray, as you can see there, kind of gray. Then the width is 200 pixels. So from here to here, we have 200 pixels. On height, we have 50 pixels. So it's only 50 pixels tall. And then we have a border of 1 pixel dotted black. Now I'm going to change this from 1 pixel to, let's do 5 pixels. And instead of dotted, I want this to be solid. Okay, we're going to make it solid and we're going to hit save. Now the position right now is set as visible. Okay, I'm going to hit save and let's hit refresh. Okay, so that's the paragraph and that's where the content is going outside of the actual box, as you can see. So that's by default. If I remove the overflow visible, it's still going to stay that way. If we go here to the example and let's hit refresh, I removed already from here the overflow visible and I hit refresh and nothing is happening because, as W3 School content was explaining to us, this is the exact default value, visible. Okay, so just remember that. I'm going to set this up again as overflow visible just so you can see it there. Okay, I hit refresh, nothing happens because again, it's by default as visible. So that's what you can do. That's what is going to happen with the property overflow when it's set to the value visible. Now let's take a look at the second example here. The second example is hidden. So with the hidden value, the overflow is clipped and the rest of the content is hidden, meaning that this is going to change. If we see this example right now, we can see the entire paragraph going outside of the box. Now let's go ahead and use the value hidden with overflow. Going back to our code, I'm going to paste the exact same style for our paragraph number 2. And I'm also going to give a couple of couple of spaces there. Okay, and let's hit refresh. There we go. So we have that space. I'm doing that because I'm applying for the example number 2, the property. Let's remove the overflow as visible. Okay, let's hit save and now let's hit refresh. Boom, you see now by default, everything is like the property visible. Now let's use the overflow hidden. So instead of visible, we will change it to hidden. Let's hit save and now going back to our code, let's hit refresh. Boom, you see now how the entire paragraph, it's there, but it's hidden inside of the box, not outside of the box. So it's not visible, now it's hidden. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory in what's the difference between one and the other. But if you have questions, you can leave them in the comment section below. Okay, so let's move on to the third value here, which is overflow scroll. This is a good value because you are going to be using this a lot in your website. So the overflow scroll property, let's do the same. Let's copy the entire same style for the example number 3. Okay, and this time I also want to give some spaces between one and the other. So let's do that. Okay, and let's hit refresh here. Okay, so this is the example number 3. We're going to be changing. Okay, example number 3, and right now it's set to hidden. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to hit save, and let's hit refresh. Okay, so you see example number 1, the paragraph is outside. Example number 2, which is hidden, it's inside of the box. Example number 3, it hasn't been set yet. So now we are going to use the overflow with the value scroll. So you can see what this is going to do now. This is going to pretty much just add the scroll bars. Okay, so let's hit save, and now let's hit refresh. And boom, you see now we have those arrows up and down. So if I hit down, now we can see the entire paragraph because it has the property as overflow with the value of scroll. So those are the 3 examples: visible, hidden inside the box, and then scroll. It allows you to scroll to see the content inside of your div. Okay, and then the last value here that we have is auto. So the auto value is it is similar to scroll, but it adds scroll bars only when it's necessary. Okay, now here we have some examples. If you hit here where it says try it yourself, you can see here that the value are similar to scroll, but it only adds the scroll bars when it's necessary. So in here, you see how we have a bar that we can move to right and left? That's not necessary because honestly, we don't have to go to the right or the left side to see the content. We just have to go up and down. So let's go ahead and copy the same exact style to the example number 4 so I can show you the property auto. Okay, right now it's set as scroll. Let's set this as auto. Let's hit save, and now let's hit refresh. Boom. So now we have the last one, which is auto. So see how now this line right here in our example number 4 is not showing? I mean, you only see the up and down scroll, which automatically is the only thing that we need. By default, we only need to go up and down. We don't need to go left and right. So automatically it detects what type of scroll you need in order to see the entire content that is inside of the box. So that's what the value auto is going to do when you are using it in your website. So those are the 4 values that you can use with the property overflow. I hope that so far this has been super easy for you. Remember, for questions, just write them down and leave them in the comment section below, and I will reply as soon as I can. Okay, and there is one more thing that I want to show you when it comes to the property overflow, and it's how you can use overflow-x and overflow-y. Okay, so the overflow X and Y properties are properties that will specify whether to change the overflow content either horizontally or if you want it to be vertically. So the overflow X specifies what to do with the left and right edges of the content, and the overflow Y specifies what to do with the top and the bottom edges of the content. And here we have an example. Now if we hit here where it says try it yourself, we're going to go back to our code so you can see it in our website. I'm going to copy all this style, and I'm going to apply this to example number 5, which I'm going to create, by the way, right now in our 5th example. Let's make sure to add first a couple of breaks there. Okay. And let's give this a class of example number 5. So let's hit save, and now let's hit refresh here. Okay, so here is the last one, right? The one that we just created, the division with example number 5 on it. Now, one thing I want to do here is make sure that I apply the same code that we did with Overflow Scroll to this one, but with Overflow Auto with this one, I'm sorry. So we are going to use the X and Y property here. So we're going to copy all this information. Just let's go ahead and let's copy this so we can see the exact same layout. So see this one right now, the content is going out of the box, right? Because we don't have an overflow set up for this. So now what we are going to do is apply the overflow X as hidden and then the overflow Y as scroll, meaning everything that goes to the left or right will be hidden, and anything that goes top to bottom will be with scroll. So we're going to just copy overflow X to hidden and then overflow Y to scroll. So you can see what this is going to do to our code. Okay, now let's hit save and let's go back to our web page and let's hit refresh. And boom, you see now we cannot go to right or left. We are only able to go up and down because in our code, the overflow X is saying anything from left to right will be hidden, and then anything that is going from the top and the bottom will be scroll. That's why we are able to scroll. So that's one more thing that you can do with the overflow property. Just by assigning the X or Y, you can go ahead and actually have more control in how everything is displayed within your box. So that was it for this chapter today, everyone. I hope that you have learned a lot. Remember to practice. The only way that you're going to become good at coding is to practice daily. Now, if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That way you will be aware every time that I upload a video. Also remember that you can always ask Lixi. Bye everyone, and see you again in the next episode.